So, you're building a digital business, and you want to sell to the entire world. That's the dream, right? But then the reality hits. Global sales are a massive headache. Well, Paddle and FastSpring both promise to solve that problem. They act as your merchant of record, which means they handle all the messy stuff like taxes, compliance, and billing. But here's the catch. They do it in very different ways. You've got Paddle with its modern, SaaS-first approach, and then there's FastSpring bringing deep experience and global flexibility to the table. Let's break it down.
Okay, so before we can really compare them, we need to be crystal clear on what a merchant of record, or MAR, actually is. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot. Put simply, the MAR is the legal entity that takes on all the financial liability for a sale. So instead of you being the seller on paper, they are. That means they're the ones handling the payments, dealing with sales tax, and making sure everything is compliant. All of it.
And this is why it's such a game changer. And MAR is literally built to solve what we call the global sales headache. Think about it, calculating and paying sales tax and VAT in every single country, managing different currencies, staying PCI compliant, fighting off fraud and chargebacks, and handling all the complexities of subscription billing. Yeah, and MAR just takes all of that off your plate.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to meet the contenders. Then we'll dig into their philosophy and, of course, their pricing. After that, a head-to-head feature comparison. We'll also check out the word on the street, what real users are saying. And finally, we'll help you figure out how to choose your champion.
All right, let's jump into Section 1 and meet our two champions. Each one really represents a distinct philosophy for solving this whole global sales problem. You've got the focus specialist on one side and the experienced all-rounder on the other.
And this slide just illustrates that core difference perfectly. On one side, you have Paddle. They were founded in 2012, and they are absolutely the modern developer-first specialist. They were built from the ground up, specifically for today's SaaS businesses. And on the other side, you've got FastSpring, founded way back in 2005. They are the seasoned veteran in this space, with super deep roots in all kinds of digital commerce, from software downloads to subscriptions.
Okay, now for the part everyone wants to know about. Let's see how these different philosophies translate into their pricing models, because let's be honest, that's often the first thing we all look at.
Paddle's whole philosophy is really about simplicity and transparency, and their pricing reflects that. They have one single flat rate fee, 5% plus 50 cents per transaction. That's it. And that fee is all-inclusive. It covers everything from payment processing and tax compliance to their really powerful ProfitWell analytics and even their churn reduction tools. There are no hidden costs, no extra charges. What you see is what you get.
FastSpring, on the other hand, does things differently. They operate on a custom revenue sharing model, so there's no single standard fee you can just look up on their website. Your final rate is going to depend on your sales volume and the kinds of transactions you're doing. You actually have to talk to their sales team to figure it out. Now, this can mean more flexibility, especially for high-volume sellers, but it definitely means less transparency right up front.
All right, time to open up the toolbox. Let's compare their arsenals feature by feature. And we'll start with the biggest headache they're both here to solve: global tax and compliance.
Now, while both platforms take on that full global tax liability, which is huge, the nuance here is really interesting. FastSpring has been doing this for a very long time, nearly 2 decades. They have an incredible depth of experience. And here's a critical difference. They handle U.S. tax-exempt scenarios, like sales to nonprofits. That's something Paddle currently doesn't support.
When we look at subscription management, you can really see their core philosophies at play. Paddle is purpose-built for SaaS. Its tools are modern, flexible, and they're designed for those really complex recurring billing models. FastSpring's system is also incredibly robust, but its real strength is its versatility. It's an absolute powerhouse for businesses that sell a mix of digital products, subscriptions, one-time software downloads, complex bundles. You can do it all in one cart.
For the developers in the room, Paddle's modern, API-first approach is a huge draw. It's designed for really deep integrations right into a SaaS product. But for those of you who want more control without having to write a bunch of code, FastSpring often has the edge. It offers more out-of-the-box customization of the checkout experience and fulfillment. Plus, it has broader no-code integrations through tools like Zapier.
And this focus is so clear when you look at their reporting. You see, Paddle acquired ProfitWell, so its analytics are laser-focused on core SaaS metrics like monthly recurring revenue, churn, and customer lifetime value. It's all about that subscription lifecycle. FastSpring, on the other hand, provides really powerful, detailed reports on revenue and customers, but they're geared more towards a generalist digital commerce model, not just pure-play SaaS.
Okay, so specs on a piece of paper are one thing, but how do these platforms actually perform out in the real world? Let's take a look at what actual users are saying online. So if you look at the aggregated user ratings on a site like G2, the story seems pretty clear. For quality of support, users score FastSpring at a very impressive 9.1 out of 10. That's significantly higher than Paddle's 8.4.
But, and this is a big but, when you start digging into the actual qualitative reviews on forums like Reddit, a very different and way more complex picture starts to emerge. You see some users expressing some intense frustration, with one person calling FastSpring support the most awful customer service I've ever experienced. It just goes to show you that those big aggregated scores don't always tell the whole story.
Now, Paddle isn't without its own criticisms, especially when it comes to how it communicates with your end customers. As this user points out, when Paddle has to step in for a support issue, they sometimes refer to the seller, that's you, as the developer. And that can feel really impersonal and confusing for your customer, kind of breaking that seamless brand experience you're working so hard to create.
And this is a really critical point for customer trust. End users are reporting that charges processed by FastSpring can show up with the generic name FastSpring on their bank statements. Now think about that. When a customer sees a charge they don't recognize, what's their first reaction? It's often to dispute it, which can create a potential chargeback nightmare for you, the seller.
Okay, we've seen the specs, we've compared the features, and we've heard from users who are actually in the trenches. So, with all that information, how do you make the final call?
This scorecard really puts the trade-offs in sharp relief, doesn't it? Paddle's big strengths are its super transparent pricing and its modern SaaS focus. But that focus comes with a bit less flexibility for other business models. FastSpring, on the other hand, offers incredible flexibility and customization, but it comes at the cost of that opaque pricing and, as we've seen, some pretty negative support reviews.
So ultimately, it all comes down to this. Your choice really depends entirely on your business model. If you are a pure-play, scaling SaaS company and you value a modern developer experience and that predictable, transparent pricing, Paddle is probably your champion. But if you're a more diverse, global digital goods vendor, you're selling software, downloads, subscriptions, all of it, and you want an established, highly configurable provider, then FastSpring is likely the better fit for you.
So there you have it. We've laid out the battleground, we've looked at the arsenals, and we've heard the tales from the field. One offers modern simplicity that's tailor-made for SaaS. The other offers established flexibility for all kinds of digital goods. The choice is yours. Which champion will you choose?